so freaking bad. Wrestlemania.
Welcome, everybody, to Juice Pro Wrestling, episode 115, Demonomania. That's right, Demonomania. Why is it Demonomania? Well, it's a combination of demons and mania, like Hulkamania, and with Sreten in the Juice, which is myself. This week is a very special guest. He is the drummer for the band Night Demon. Everybody, please give a huge fucking round of applause to Dusty Squires.
What up? What up?
What up,
to be
How's
here. What's going on? Just chilling in sunny Southern California.
SoCal, huh? Is it uncensored? Is it truly uncensored?
Depends on the time of day, depends on quarantine restrictions, and pandemic nonsense. So, it's like, oh, everybody can go out. And then it's like, nope, everybody's got to go back in.
Yeah, just
still
everybody back to the pile.
Yeah. So we're just doing the best we can. And I'm at Night Demon headquarters in Ventura, California. And we're just staying busy amidst all the craziness. Obviously, we're not on the road. So we have to kind of keep ourselves busy by, doing things like this.
Yeah,
it's fun.
Do the fucking quarantine jams or something. You're out in Ventura. I had a buddy, Neil Burkdahl, that lived out there. Was in a band called Dirty Dead and Point of Our Resistance with my drummer from Handsome Prick.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
I've only been out here for 10 years. I moved from. I'm originally from northeastern Pennsylvania in the sticks. The Pocono Mountains. So I moved across country with a couple of my buddies in an old band in 2010, and that's how I ended up in Ventura, and that's where I met Jarvis, singer of Night Demon, and Armand, our guitar player. They were both in separate bands at the time, and Ventura's a real everybody kind of plays music and everybody knows each other, and they were the two guys that definitely kind of stuck out as far as being guys that you'd want to hang out with or get to know. And so yeah, it's just one thing leads to another, and I ended up in Night Demon in late 2013, started touring 2014, and it's been nonstop ever since then. I mean, we've been to 20-something countries and played over 600 shows. So
Serbia?
Not yet. Soon enough.
All right. Yeah, soon enough. Maybe next year. They're on full lockdown right now.
Yeah.
They fully opened and went on full lockdown like 2 weeks ago.
I'm hoping everything can kind of get back to normal, because the last thing I want to do is, play socially distant shows. I want to see the first guy who's going to get in the mosh pit and start flailing around. Everybody's going to be like, God. That's the guy who's crazy right there.
Right. I'm just going to fucking stand really close to people and they'll be like, you're hardcore.
Totally. Absolutely.
Without a mask. No,
right.
I'm just joking, kids. I play it safe. I don't want to bring that shit home. I got niños. I got kids. So yeah, out from Pennsylvania. I mean, that's kind of some prime wrestling territory, man.
Ooh, not too far from the ECW arena. I grew up about 100 miles away from Philadelphia.
Did you ever go to any of the shows?
Unfortunately, no. I was a young buck back then. The last thing my parents wanted me to do was skip town and go down.
Watch a death match.
Hand Tommy Dreamer a stop sign. So I didn't really ever get a chance to do that, because by the time ECW, like I said, I was born in 84. So 99, I was 15, 16-year-old kid.
Right.
That didn't know any better and couldn't hold my own yet. I was going to WWE house shows in Bethlehem, PA. They'd always come through Stable Arena. That was always a spot. I went to WrestleMania 10 and 11. So
nice.
I got to see the ladder match. That's the one thing I vividly remember, because each WrestleMania is the age that I am. But by March, I was only 9 at WrestleMania 10. My birthday's at the end of August. But I knew it was something big when I was watching that match. You could tell it was something that was ahead of its time, and that those guys were going for it. And then, of course, one of the best matches, Owen Hart versus Bret Hart to start the WrestleMania. And, of course, Bret Hart loses and is all injured, and then comes out and beats the mighty Yokozuna. And I remember just going apeshit when that happened. WrestleMania 11 was lackluster compared to 10. It was a little, I think one of the highlights for that one was Crush and Macho Man's Falls Count Anywhere. I remember that kind of sticking out. Other than that, the Lawrence Taylor Bam Bam Bigelow thing I could do without. You know.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, why is LT in the WWF?
Yeah. So it was. I've been a huge fan of pro wrestling and heavy metal and pro football. That's been like my main thing. I know you guys touch on like the horror aspect of things, but I'm not so much a horror movie buff as Jarvis is in our band. He knows everything about that. But when it comes to pro wrestling and heavy metal, it's like I'm into it.
Hell yeah! Hey, so I saw your Instagram reaction earlier. Are you a big Poison fan?
I am.
Sreten, turn it off right now, quick.
Yeah.
I just watched that movie they did on Netflix about them.
I got a big old Poison tattoo here.
Oh shit!
So it was something that I grew up as a kid. It was my first concert in '91. My dad took me when I was like 6, and that was the time I was like, I want to do this. They were a big party band, and obviously if I was like 10 years older or something, I probably wouldn't be so into them. But because of my age, same thing as like the Ultimate Warrior, we're like, two the same. Flashy, big hair, energy. Maybe not the best at what they do per se.
Warrior was blown up by the time he got to the ring.
Yeah, but people still paid their hard-earned money to go see those guys do their thing.
Oh yeah.
So I have a respect for what those guys did, and it got me where I'm at. Obviously growing up in PA, Poison was from Pennsylvania, moved to California, did the thing. So it was always something that I kind of worked towards. If those guys could do it, I want to go do it.
Fuck yeah. And that's good motivation. And nowadays, everybody's a snowflake. And of course, it's super sensitive. You say the wrong thing or you like the wrong celebrity or whatever, and people get pissed off. But
totally.
I mean, Warrior, I respect him. I mean, obviously, as a kid, we all loved him because it's just how you explained it. I mean, he was a fucking walking, breathing superhero. It was insane. And what a moment to be a wrestling fan. And as a kid, where you had Hogan and Warrior, like at the time, two of the biggest like entities that you could fucking ever imagine. And then when they clashed, I remember holding my Hulk Hogan wrestling buddy, and I was like, they fucking lost. I was like, no. But
I was so pumped,
dude. He was such a, because after his wrestling career, I mean, he did a lot of like motivational stuff. And I know a lot of people shit on him because, dude, I mean, maybe he used some terms that people nowadays wouldn't use and whatever. And he was hard on some of these fucking kids. But I mean, that's kind of like the way I grew up was, like the tough love thing. And dude, like just watching some of that shit, he was honest, and he's like, hey, you're not going to fucking do anything if you don't fucking say I quit or I give up. There's no giving
up. Yeah, totally. I mean,
power, man.
What you saw is what you got with him. And he didn't care to cater to anybody's likings or dislikings. And the only person that he cared about impressing was Vince McMahon. And he had Vince in his corner, probably more than anybody else up to a certain point. Obviously, once it got into like the mid 90s, once they got into the 90s, he started to kind of fall off the wagon. And being the champion takes a lot, and he didn't do what he had to do.
No, he did some bad business practices, man.
So I guess like
Vince up.
in my world and in my kind of like respect for what I take from him and everything, it's like the good and the bad, what to do, what not to do. But I mean, he beat Hulk Hogan 1, 2, 3 and became world champion, held 2 titles at one time. Hell yeah.
Hold on 1 minute. I think I hear somebody knocking. Hold on.
Uh-oh.
All right. I'm curious to see what's going on here.
I don't know if he's
remember when I beat Hulk Hogan for the world heavyweight title when you were just a lad?
Do you remember that,
Dusty Squires?
I remember.
Oh, I certainly do. I remember putting the camel clutch on that wrestling buddy, full Nelson, bear hugs, you name it.
Hell yeah! As long as you just did not try to hump me, then any maneuver would work. How'd it go?
There's the snort. Heck yeah! Hell yeah!
Man,
The only
My
ones that
goodness.
nobody ever had were the Legion of Doom ones. Nobody ever had the Legion of Doom
wait.
wrestling buddies.
Hold on. I think I hear someone else.
No, he's got the Legion of Doom ones. Yep. I mean,
Shit.
you weren't a kid in those days if you didn't have at least one or two of those.
We snack on danger and we dine on death.
There's Animal.
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. You have
I'm
it.
back, guys. Hey, how's it going?
That's what happens.
How do you have room for all those people in your room?
Yeah, just don't shout out any more people, man, because I can't keep opening the door. It's I get this fucking show done here.
I was gonna say, what about Barbie? You got a Barbie in there?
Hold on, I think I hear somebody knocking.
He just uses her hair and puts it over top of his forehead.
How dare you?
How about this blonde, brother? There ain't no Barbie here, only 24-inch pythons, dude.
The one thing that I could never figure out was how they both could hold the heavyweight title at once and forever. It just didn't make any sense. You got to have one or the other.
It's not for you to understand, brother. All I care about is the pump and prayers and vitamins, Jack. Gotta go.
Yeah. Awesome.
Please, no more people.
Love it.
But yeah, get back to what I was saying, man, like with the Warrior. And it is cool, like our generation, and people around our age, like, and it's cool that people can admit it now, like that they were motivational, I mean, even though they're characters and we all know what pro wrestling is. I mean, there were times like later in life, like I said, when Warrior wasn't wrestling and I was watching some of his motivational shit and I'm just like, damn, dude, like that's what it is right there. Like just push a motherfucker as hard as they can go. I mean, hey, you watch The Last Dance if you're a basketball fan. You seen Jordan did that shit to people,
Absolutely. To be great at what you want to do, man, you gotta, be a villain and to other people, but also you're just like, hey, man, this is how I am. Take it or leave it. You want to win, or you want to sit at home?
Here I am,
my
rock
guest,
you like a hurricane. We're speaking about a little bit of metal. We'll get into some metal talk on this shit tonight too. But dude, guess who if you're big, do you like 80s power metal at all?
Oh yeah, of course.
I mean, if you like Poison, you got at least like some of that.
Dude, we toured with Accept in 2016, which was huge.
Nice.
I mean, I have Metal Heart tattooed on me. I grew up listening to Balls to the Wall and Metal Heart as a kid, and air drum those records till I couldn't anymore. So yeah, we got to go on tour with them, and I was just pumped. It was like amazing.
Fuck yeah, dude! I just confirmed for our other show we do, the JP Dub podcast, I will have Steve Grimmett from Grim Reaper on. Oh,
absolutely. He's a big fan of ours, man. Every time we did the 70,000 tons of cruise, 70,000 tons of metal cruise, and he was out hanging out with us, and it's
kind of like a pirate though. Now, no disrespect,
unfortunately, total bummer. But he's an awesome guy, and I remember growing up, I had a tape called. What was it called? Metal Masters, and it had "See You in Hell" on there. And I remember as a kid, I was like, "This song is frightening." And I remember telling Steve that I was like, "You scared me to death as a kid." That song was just brutal for what it is, and for the time. I mean, I think that was like 1984 or something. Like that song
dude,
came
I got
out.
what do I got? I think I got "Rock You to Hell." I'm trying to think of what "Fear No Evil," dude, is like one of my. It's just up there, one of my probably top 10 all-time favorite songs, dude. That shit's fucking powerful, man.
It's an honor to be in the kind of traditional heavy metal scene that we're in, and to run into a lot of these guys and gain their respect for doing what we do and being true to what we do, and not up there doing the smoke and mirrors thing. What you see is what you get with us. And when you get the old school guys like Anvil and Raven and Grim Reaper and Accept, it's just the list goes on. We just did a tour of Sacred Reich, and it's like everybody kind of appreciates what we do, man, and we enjoy it. So we'll keep doing it till the wheels fall off. That's for sure.
Fuck yeah, that's what you got to do. I mean, you guys got a fucking good sound going. You guys, you got a new EP out, right?
Yeah, we've been putting out some singles. That was our plan, even pre-quarantine, was to get some new stuff out, keep the ball rolling, and kind of keep people's attention by just giving a little bit at a time. And with the whole pandemic, it kind of worked out really nicely that we were able to keep it fresh instead of releasing a whole album. And then it's like, okay, everybody's just like, all right, what's next? It's kind of a little bit here and there, and put out some like behind the song stuff on YouTube and stuff like that. So, but we're stoked on it. And, with us, we don't really ever write B-sides, everything with us. It's like, we always consider it just like all killer, no filler, so we spend a lot of time on just a song, and it goes through a lot of revamps and revisions and all that kind of stuff. So till we're somewhat satisfied,
Hey man, you got to do what you got to do to make it good, make a good product.
That's it.
You rush
But
that shit.
we've been stoked, and people have been pumped on it too. And we've been putting out 7 inches with each one. So that's kind of worked out. And each B-side that we do with the 7 inches a cover that we decide to do. So everything just but it's only on the 7 inches right now with the covers. So, the digital stuff is out there on Spotify and all that kind of stuff, but, we try to keep it exclusive as much as we can.
That's nice. You got to keep it different. Got to keep that merch eclectic. And different.
Absolutely. What would Maiden do,
All right. Well, they won't get Diano back. That's for damn sure. Which, unfortunately, I'm a huge Paul Diano fan, man. I love those first 2 albums. It's my favorite Maiden era of Maiden, but a lot of people ain't too keen on them. But I'm a punk rocker metalhead, and that's what they were. They were like punk and metal, dude, like thrashy, and it's fucking awesome.
Heck yeah, ahead of their time in a sense.
I was there's this wrestler Mecha Wolf, and he's got his own band. He does like kind of like horror punk type shit, and he's big Misfits, like Danzig fan, and dude's fucking awesome. Dude, he's got a killer fucking look. But he was he does these like videos, and a lot of these wrestlers now, because of the quarantine, they're doing like little stuff where they're at home and maybe doing a skit or playing some shit on the guitar. And he's doing some stuff now where it's like, I guess this song, he's fucking rocking out Transylvania by Iron Maiden. Nobody guessed it. I was like, the first one, I was all up on that shit.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but I'm playing it the way I think he said Iced Earth covered it or something, which I'm not a huge Iced Earth guy, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. Well, more power to him.
Right.
I need to correct myself before you ask your question. Earlier, I said I watched the Netflix Poison movie. I meant Motley Crue. I don't want to get that much hate mail.
I knew you. Hey, let's give him an old ECW chant. Come on, Dawson. You fucked up.
Fucked up. You fucked up. You fucked up.
You piece of shoe. Whatever.
No, I watched that too. It was, it was cool.
Yeah, it's all right.
It stinks.
Congratulations.
You could watch the behind the music. Yeah, you could watch the behind the music and get all that. And that came out like, I don't know, 98 or something.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I like behind the music. I kind of miss that.
I did
shit,
too,
man.
I thought it was cool.
That shit was great. That was great. I mean, that's when Poison reunited. They didn't have the 4 original members until 99. Behind the music came out, I was like, boom.
They dug
tickets for that
Cece
shit.
off the streets with needles and shit stuck in his heart.
Oh, dude, he was like over 200 pounds. He was like 240 pounds or something. Yeah, he was gigantic, and then got his act together and he's back in the saddle.
There you go.
Kind of. They didn't get to do their big stadium tour though, so that got the kibosh real quick.
Well, they'll have time. Bret Michaels has been around our neck of the woods, actually.
He hits all those spots, man. He just doesn't stop.
The mothers go fucking wild. They get wet and wild. Let me tell you. They're like, ooh, showing us them old titties and stuff,
It's just not the same, man. I mean, Poison is what it is, and you can't go out there and try to do anything else without, it's like any band. Got, the OG guys, people don't want to see it.
Yeah.
As much as you can. As much as you can. Obviously, if the guys die and stuff, then you gotta,
Well, you just got to get a new singer or a new guitar player. That's the trend, I'm waiting for somebody to fucking replace Chris Cornell. I'll fucking shoot myself in the head. Mark my words. Like, come on, dude. Did Alice in Chains really need to come back? I mean, maybe for a one-off tour to like, kind of like, hey, we've been gone. We missed Lane. Here's like a one-off. We'll see you later, and we'll start a different band. Did they do that? No, because there's a thing called greed disease and money and intellectual properties and business. And I fucking hate that shit, dude. Artist integrity, man. It's like, fuck, what if, I'll put it this way. got some in my mouth. What if somebody came back in front of Nirvana? You know, like, and they allowed that to happen. That would be more disgraceful than it even happening. You know. That's my whole thing.
Yeah, I hear you there. I hear you. Some things just, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, guys want to go out there and they want to play and they want to get it out. I understand, you know.
Just do a different band, you know. At least it's a little more acceptable in, like, where I come from, like the death metal, grindcore, underground, you know. I mean, everybody's a whore in that scene, dude. Everybody's been in 80 fucking bands and, you know, guys get replaced and so be it.
Green Jelly, that's one of them. Green Jelly, he's got like how many members that?
Dude, I think they're in the Guinness Book of World Records for how many they've had. Like over by now, it's got to be close to 100 different band members. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. And if I don't know, here's a little tidbit for you. I don't know if people know this or not, but Danny Carey from Tool actually played on that Serial Killer soundtrack, and Maynard did the.
Yep,
I love that
did
riff,
know that, man. Actually, yeah.
Dude, I was a little kid watching that shit. I was fucking ready to hit some shit listening to that shit.
And then Rambo comes in and just starts blasting fools.
Yo, Wolfface, I'm your worst nightmare. Your ass is mine.
Yeah.
Like, imagine some blast beats right after that. That'd be great.
They kind of did. He kind of did. I remember him like hitting the snare drum as like each of the blasts are going off, you know?
Yeah.
That was like such a cool video too. I remember seeing that on MTV as a kid and just being like, wow, this is different.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I grew up watching all the Headbangers Ball and, you know, we didn't have YouTube when we were kids. You know, I had to watch music videos and half the time the editing was off. You know, the guy's playing the ride cymbal and it's the hi-hat, you know, and you're like, that's not what he's playing. So that's how I had to figure out, like, I learned how to play drums by air drumming. That was kind of like my thing. I put on records and then just started moving my body around and got. Were you one of those kids in
school where, like, I always loved using pencils on like thick ass books because you always get that nice fucking.
Nah, I didn't really make the noise. I didn't really do that. I was kind of more just like a closet about it. You know, it was just kind of like it was something that I did to get pumped, or I should have been doing my homework and I'm air drumming "Shout at the Devil," you know. So shout at the devil. So, you know, it was just kind of one of those things that kind of just got me going. And, you know, same thing with watching pro wrestling. It was like that would just pump me up to go play metal. And then I played football as a kid too. So I would just get all pumped and just everything with contact, drums, wrestling, football, like let's go smash some heads.
80s action movies starring Van Damme.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
We all love that shit. Or anything with Bolo Young in it.
Oh, yeah.
Totally.
Fucking love that guy. Well, it's cool that you bring that up, though. I mean, so I kind of want to get into, like, I mean, you were a young kid when you started, because everybody out there watching right now on YouTube and listening on all podcasting platforms, if you look at our promo this week on Instagram and Facebook, I got a picture that you let me use for the promo, and you're a little fucking kid, dude, with a drum set. And you could see the Hulkamania. Was it a calendar or a poster on the wall?
It was one of the pullouts from the magazine.
Yeah. Dude, now I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, that's fucking awesome. Like, that's what I like, and that was part of the reason in creating this show a couple years ago. Was, you know, I want people to come on and tell their stories and share their like experience for wrestling. Not just, you know, we do interview wrestlers and people in the biz and all that, but to me, it really is so much cooler when you can get someone, especially being a fucking metal guy myself, you know, and getting, you know, brothers from the metal community on, because I think that's one big connection that is there. But a lot of people, I think, are kind of like closet about it. You know, it's like, I don't want to say I like wrestling because, you know, whatever. You know, it wasn't like that back in the day when it was dominating and it was cool to be a wrestling fan, you know? But
yeah, absolutely.
So what age did you start playing drums, man?
I started like dicking around when I was about 4. I remember getting my hands on Look What the Cat Dragged In. My mom's best friend was the one who had all the collection of the tapes. Mm-hmm. And for some reason, I guess I just gravitated towards MTV, and I just loved the whole hair metal scene. I mean, it was larger than life. I mean, you're talking 1988. It was right at the peak of it. And and it was really simple drumming to get going. You know, originally I wanted to play guitar because obviously it was all about the solos, and the guitar players were the dudes.
Yeah. Drummers get lots of poon though. Come on.
Yeah, drummers just back there holding it down. So I really learned the basics of rock and roll drumming by listening to those records. And yeah, by the time I was 6, my parents had separated. So what did my dad do on my birthday? He took me to a music shop and bought me a drum set to take back to my mom's house.
Yeah, who's the best parent now?
Yeah, and then my mom had to deal with me banging around. But they were really supportive of it right from the start because they knew how into music I was. Especially because we didn't have the internet back then. I used to read all the liner notes, and they were like, "This kid doesn't even really know how to read books, and he knows who like Robert Plant is." And I would go to people's houses and dig through their record collection and pick out all the ones that I knew I liked because I knew who Whitesnake was, I knew who Warrant was, I knew all those bands, and if it was popular, people had it. So I just gravitated towards it, and it was something that stuck. So needless to say, when Night Demon gave me a call, they were like, you like hair metal, right? I almost didn't get it because I have a Poison tattoo, but
I know Sreten almost booed you off the show earlier, piece of shit.
I was a huge Def Leppard fan. I can't.
High and Dry is a great album. Love it.
My girlfriend loves fucking that shit. I mean, she got I think we got it during the baby shower, but anyways, my 3 months old son has a fucking Def Leppard onesie, and I'm like, come on, I want to Hulkamania rip that shit off and throw the fucking Slayer one on.
Yeah. And then I got into wrestling around the same time. Wrestling Challenge was on. Superstars.
Saturday mornings were the shit as a kid, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. WCW was, coming out. And what was the one where Patriot was like the wrestler on ESPN that they showed it there? Was that?
AWA.
AWA. Yeah,
they used to show that. It was ESPN2 or something. But AWA, dude, you go back and watch some of that shit. I think some of it's on WWE Network for those of you out there that have it. Dude, you could see a very fucking young Shawn Michaels, Rick Steiner. I think him and Shawn used to tag back in the day. And dude, Rick was, everybody knows Scotty, me and my brother. Everybody knows Scotty, dude, for how big he was. But I'm telling you, dude, Rick, when he was young and like in the AWA, that motherfucker was jacked to the gill. And both those dudes were legit athletes, dude. University of Michigan,
Absolutely. Was he wearing the headgear back then too?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Everybody used to be like, he's a real wrestler because he wears the headgear.
Right. Dude, I wrestled for 3 years. I hated that shit. I hated it in the singlet. I lost a lot because I was super embarrassed to be out there. Like,
I actually was just watching, I subscribe to WWE Network myself, and I just watched the Last Ride, the Undertaker documentary.
Very good.
And that was awesome. I loved it. Even if he breaks kayfabe and he's not, the Undertaker anymore, he's more Mark Calloway, but
it's time, man. He's earned it.
Yeah, to have a career like that is just so impressive and amazing. And I watched I haven't finished it yet because it's so long. It's like a 19-part series on the Monday Night Wars. And
that's great too. That's yeah.
I'm like 3/4 of the way through it, and I was just thinking, like, man, what an awesome time it was to be a wrestling fan and to be at that prime age at that time. Just from the golden era all the way up to the Attitude and, just the competition that was going on. And I don't think it's ever going to be like that again. I guess it could be like Saturday Night Live where, it has its like, it'll never be like it was with Belushi. And then it comes through and everybody's like, oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
So I bet, I feel like it's so kind of like PG, at least in the WWE. I know there's, other companies out there that are starting to kind of make their way through the cracks, and they're doing some things that WWE aren't doing. But it was amazing to have ECW, WCW, and WWF going head to head with all that. It was just amazing in the mid to late 90s.
It was, definitely a great time. And that's, another thing we try to stress on here is, for fans that are like, you're obviously aware of different companies and stuff, whether you watch anything else, obviously I don't know, but, we try to help guide people towards what is good because, WWE, and I hate to knock them because we try to maintain positivity on here to some degree, but, it's just,
absolutely.
Dude, it's god awful. It's like gauged towards kids, but I don't even think it's in a good way because it was gauged towards kids when we were little, and we were kids and we fucking loved it. But I go back and watch it today, and I'm still like, yeah, this shit's good. It's a little cheesy, but I don't know.
Right. Exactly. I mean,
it's not the same.
The competition was squashed. And obviously it was due to other companies making bad moves. I mean, there's a lot of things that go into play with it.
Right.
And I know that AEW is like a, one that's kind of coming out and doing its thing, and they got some traction, and they're keeping
fucking
it real.
rocking and rolling, brother. Like if you ain't watching AEW on Wednesday nights, man, dude, or Dark, Dark is free. It's on YouTube every Tuesday, and there's a lot of our homies. Brian Cage is one who just went there. Friend of the show, Brian Pillman Jr.
Oh, nice. Yeah,
dude, it's great. And that's the thing. Like when we started this show, we started to see this kind of resurgence happen. There was more and more fans like coming out and saying, "Hey," because the indie scene nowadays, bro, is just like ridiculous. Like it's feeding Ring of Honor and WWE and all the Impact, TNA, whatever you want to call them, all these bigger promotions, because the talent pool is fucking nuts. And all it is guys who were motivated, like you and me, like as a kid, and they're taking that and utilizing that and becoming the next generation of talent. And so when AEW started to gain traction, guys like Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks, even with the Bullet Club when they were there in New Japan and stuff, it was like this thing. It's like, man, it was this feeling, this buzz, like, oh shit, you could feel it, that like, is this the third wrestling boom I'm gonna fucking live through? And then bam, COVID hit him in the fucking face.
Yeah, and like it does go full circle. It goes full circle, and when you get the guys that have the old school backbone that are tired of what's being, fed down your throat, you get to the point where you're like, we're over it, and you got to go out there and make your own way and do your thing. So kudos to those guys for doing that. It's hard for me. I mean, I'm just like, same thing with music for me. I don't listen to a whole lot of new stuff. Our whole band is like that, and we kind of have that old, that throwback sound, not only because of that. I mean, I think out of the guys in my band, I probably listen to the shittiest music on the planet.
Come on.
So,
hey, I almost bought Miss Piggy's Exercise album on vinyl yesterday. So
I get shit for it. I get shit for it. I was in, because of, my time and being a little bit younger, I listened to all kinds of like the new metal stuff and all that kind of thing, and I had to educate myself, especially when it came to drumming. A lot of like the music kind of progressed as it went on. The grunge scene hit. There was still a lot of drummers still playing the thing, but like you had guys getting more creative and more progressive. But I
think Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains was one of my favorite, like in that era, dude. Like
I was actually thinking that right when I was saying it, like just the intros to some of those songs and the way he would kind of lay the groove down and do odd time signatures and, lay it fat and still keep the groove, but be creative and progressive in that kind of sound. And, Dave Grohl just bashing away and Nirvana, and, stuff like that. And then Pantera came along, and for me that was something that really took it to the next level. By 1996, when I kind of
wait, are you saying a new level?
Yeah. Once I caught wind of them and I heard Vinnie Paul's monstrous drumming, I was just like hooked. So I got big into Pantera, and then once the new metal things started to shift and those guys were playing like really fast double bass and throwing the death metal elements into it, obviously being in Pennsylvania and kind of being in the backwoods, I had to, once it became popular is when I found out about it. So I wasn't really into like the whole underground scene of what was going on at the time. So when the band like Slipknot came out, I was just like, holy shit, Joey Jordison is amazing, and I wanted to learn as much of his beats as I could, so it's not all Ricky Rocket and Tommy Lee, you gotta break the molds.
I hope not, dude. I remember when Slipknot came out, and that was like, thank God, because dude, I was one, like I said, I grew up a fucking punk rock kid and like a metal kid, and actually like for being in, been in the death metal, death grindcore scene now for 16 years or so. I didn't really care for it growing up. I remember in like middle school, there were kids that were busting out some Cannibal Corpse, and I had heard it, and I was like, fuck this shit. And then I think I remember like seeing them in Ace Ventura, and I was kind of like,
right,
all right, and then started hanging out with some more dudes, and I didn't really fully get into it until like high school. And then, but that's, I always say it's the progression of music, and it's really, how would you say, it worked. It's different for where different people come from, different backgrounds. I was a young, angry punk but I was into everything. I'm a huge Frank Zappa fan. You know, I mean, I played jazz guitar in high school, but I was still angry and pissed off. And so obviously, like, the next level for me was to go to like brutal death metal, because it was who I was at that time, you know. And it's never stopped. It was like great angry music, but it was super technical. And you could feel it in your bones, and it got me pumped, like wrestling, you know, like as a kid. And I was like, fuck, I'm hooked after that, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like whatever makes you feel something bigger than how you currently feel, something that takes you to that next level. And, you know, that's just like with anything. And to me, a good song is a good song. If it makes me feel something, I'm pumped. You know, I got a lot more of an education in the new wave of British heavy metal, you know, genre once I joined Night Demon, because it was like, this is what we're into, man, and you need to learn some shit, you know. So you know, to be my first tour and my first shows with the band were opening for Diamond Head and Raven, you know, and those guys are like, hey, these are like, you know, this is why we're doing this, and you know, this is it. So I got an education real fast, and you know, Raven took us on our first tour, just like they did with Metallica, and you know, to like kind of follow in those footsteps a bit, and to kind of get an education from them was huge. And yeah, so the list goes on when it comes to that. So definitely grown.
That's fucking great, man.
Yeah, well, you know,
who were so like, get back to the wrestling. Who were like growing up? I mean, obviously, you know, you mentioned Ultimate Warrior. I seen you had the Hulk Hogan poster. Were you more of a, you know, in the business, they call it, you know, faces and heels, baby faces and heels? I mean, did you like the bad guys growing up?
I was a baby face. I mean, I think that, you know, with the bad guys, it like was a little bit of push and pull depending on the kind of antics that they would do.
Yeah.
You know, like when, you know, Undertaker, prime example, somebody who would come out and just make the scene grim when you'd hear that music, and little kids' faces would turn to stone. And I think that,
looked like buckwheat was in the audience in abundance.
I thought it was some of the coolest, you know, presence and you know, one of the greatest characters, especially when he, at the funeral parlor, when he stuck the Warrior in the Warrior casket. I was terrified. But as far as, let me think of maybe some heels that I would have liked. I can't, maybe like Psycho Sid might have been one. That's a little bit later.
What about Ravishing Rick Rude?
Rude was great just because he could get under your skin, and he had great feuds with the Warrior. I was more of a face guy for sure. I think up until the Attitude Era, when everybody started to cheer for the bad guys.
Right.
You know, and I liked the guys who might have been a bad guy, but could still win you over by
Roddy
doing
Piper
something here or there. Totally. Like, what was it, WrestleMania 5, when he had, who was the talk show host or somebody he had on Piper's Pit? And he was like blowing smoke in his face, and Piper's like, I told you, don't blow no smoke in my face. And he kept doing it, and Piper just lights him up with the fire extinguisher. Trying to Downey, was it something Downey?
Morton Downey.
Yeah,
it was Morton Downey. Yeah,
and
that's Robert Downey Jr.'s dad, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, was it?
Morton Downey is related to Robert Downey Jr. I think it's father and son. I mean, I could be wrong, but
yeah, and so,
I'm pretty sure.
I liked King Kong Bundy. I thought he was cool. Junkyard Dog was
JYD, dude. He had the thump, dude. I had those LJN figures. I had all those motherfuckers.
Bad News Brown.
Bad News was the shit too.
Jake the Snake, of course, and Jake was so menacing with his presence on the mic. And
well, he's in AEW now too, and he's managing a guy called Lance Archer, the Murder Hawk Monster, and he's cutting some fucking hellacious promos still, dude.
I mean, just the fact that he could talk at a low volume and get your attention. Mm-hmm. You had guys like the Warrior that would, you know, shout, and Hogan was always brother, sweating his ass off just 1,000 miles an hour. You know, and Jay could be there where you could hear the reel on the tape just hissing in between what he was saying. Man. So yeah, great. And, you know, it's fantastic to see what DDP did with a lot of those guys and bring them back with the yoga and all that kind of thing. So Awesome. I'm stoked for those guys and for what they did. But yeah, definitely. I think I got more into the bad guys once the Attitude Era came through. Everybody was stoked on DX and The Rock, and
even DX was popular because everybody wanted to tell everybody to suck it.
Suck it.
And they're like, suck what?
Yeah. I was in school just doing it, and teaching.
Where was it? Stoked. It's down where?
Yeah. X marks the spot.
Yeah, dude. Dude, that was a great time. I remember that shit in high school, dude. You were either wearing DX or NWO shirts. Dude,
yeah, for sure.
I wasn't a huge Wolfpack fan, but I was, I'm always about keeping it real as far as like my dress and my fashion and trying to accessorize. Dude, I used to have a bomb-ass pair of red Dickies and a Wolfpack, NWO Wolfpack shirt. I rocked that shit all the time.
Boom.
Alternating with my fishbone shirt from time to time.
Shit. Yeah, man, it was a special time for sure. And, when I got a chance to go in and dive into those documentaries and stuff, and I just watched the Vice program.
Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, and I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic.
Have you seen both seasons?
I brushed up on season 1. I got into season 2. For some reason, I didn't really know about it. A lot of times we're on tour. I'm not really, right. I don't get to watch TV. I have like the Netflix and the Hulu and all that kind of stuff. But once I saw that was on there, I was just like, oh, damn. Okay, cool. And then ended up getting Vice just to watch it, So I thought the Von Erich story was great. I already had a lot of background on them, the Road Warrior one, of course. And I just thought it was really cool. And for them, it was like one of the highest rated shows that they've ever had on their program. So that goes to show you how many people.
Too, man.
Ooh, that was amazing. That was so good.
My girlfriend hated him. She's like, this guy's a piece of shit. And I'm like, exactly.
Have you ever seen some of the YouTube videos of like New Jack hanging out with like Honky Tonk Man? And, they're just all lit, just talking shit. And I was just like,
I think Chic, there's one with Chic too.
Oh yeah.
And I swear, I thought they were smoking crack or doing something. They were fucked up. I know they were drinking, but maybe off camera they're doing a little bit of that fuck. They were getting a little snowblind or something.
Sheiky's all, Sheiky baby wants some of the crack. New Jack, give it to the Sheiky baby.
Dude, I mean, I obviously can't say it for reasons, obviously, whatever, because I like everybody, and I ain't like that. But are you aware of the video where Iron Sheik made a derogatory comment about Beetlejuice? Remember from the Howard Stern show?
Oh, yeah. I remember Beetlejuice.
He was fucking trashed. He's like, Beetlejuice, you fucking... And, he's like just straight up blasting. I'm like... Oh my God, Sheik, what's going on? And then like 5 minutes later, he goes back in the room and was like, Beetlejuice, I love you. I love you, the greatest. You're the best.
Dude, he was so up and down, and I'm sure he went through his thing. I actually watched
Did you watch that movie?
Yeah, and I felt kind of bad for him,
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this guy's been through some shit.
Dude, how fucked up is it when he was a legit Olympic wrestler for the country of what? Iran, right?
Yeah.
And what is that, Sreten? Is it a czar that's over there or that rules the country?
Something like that, yeah. I'm not quite sure.
Not anymore. I don't know. I want to say it's prime minister also. I don't know.
Whatever it is. But the main guy over there, dude, he was killing guys. And they had like one of the guys that you've seen the documentary, Dusty, like one of the big time wrestlers out there. He got murdered by this guy because all he wanted to do was, hey, like, don't give me all this money for, all the whatever. Give it to opening schools and doing positive shit over there. And it got his ass killed. And and he was like, fuck that, I'm out. And he actually came over to the United States and helped the U.S. men's Olympic wrestling team.
He was a brick shit house too.
Oh, dude. He was stacked. Those videos from the 80s with the fucking, talk about, what do you call those?
Oh, yeah.
Those clubs. Oh, dude. And that ain't no joke either. My buddy, Zach Gasia, he bought a set of those because I showed him those videos. He was like, whoa. He was like all into working out. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, try this shit.
Unfortunately, though, I don't think the crowd was so impressed when he'd come out in the middle of the ring and start doing it. They're like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
That shit. Dude, that shit's fucking awesome, dude. And no joke. I mean, you're a drummer. You know about like building them fucking arms and shit,
man.
Like
it's all the wrist, man. I got to stretch my wrist now. I get that. Like my wrist will go freaking numb if I'm not warmed up and stretched, man. It's all the 16th.
Yeah.
It's just like burning, and then it goes numb, and then I'm just like, I'm old. I'm getting old, man. But you got to keep it together, or else you lose it. Use it or lose it.
Oh man, I know, man. I've been yelling my ass off for many moons now, and it's like, oh, I'll quit smoking tomorrow. Fuck that. As Phil and Summer would say, I need my fucking vitamin C. Where you at?
Yeah, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, you hear that fucking bass?
Tell me you hear the fucking bass. Yeah, good shit.
Fuck, I was just rocking some Pantera the other night. It's a band that, like, again, growing up, everybody around me was super into them. I didn't hate them, but I just couldn't really get into them. And then I started to as I got older, because I mean, dude, they were the heaviest commercial metal band probably ever. Like commercially, like Slipknot, I got their death metal things and whatever. But dude, Pantera was straight like fucking violence, punch you in the fucking face, and their sound was ridiculous. Like Diamond Vinny's guitar and drum sound, insane.
I got some buddies. One in particular that lives in Austin. That's a great friend of mine, and he's all, man, after that power metal shit, fuck Pantera. And he's just like, really? He sticks
Rumbles in the Jungle guns, or whatever.
Yeah, he sticks to his guns about that. He's like, I will never. He's like, fuck that band, man. But for me, it was just like, taking it to the next level, literally. And I mean, that was a band that they did. Once they kind of shifted from the hair metal, power metal thing, and they got into the heavier shit. They stuck with that, and they hit number one, and kudos to them for sticking to their guns and whatever they decided to do to stay popular and do their thing. So,
except reinventing steel, I just had that argument with my boy Stan the other night. It was the weakest album. Dude, great Southern Trendkill though, man. Whew.
I think they would even argue that that's probably their weakest one. They were in pretty much turmoil at that point.
Yeah.
Phil was recording his vocals separately. Those guys are doing their thing.
Everybody hated everyone.
They were banged up. Reinventing the Steel, they kind of had some more camaraderie going, and their live show for that. I had a chance to go on that tour when they were out with Slayer. And I remember I was about 17 at the time or something, and I was like, man, I don't know. It's going to be kind of violent. And I'm bummed that I didn't go, because that was my only chance to see him, and I fucking blew it.
Hey, I never saw Pantera, unfortunately, either. I've seen Down, I've seen Superjoint. I refuse to see Hell Yeah. I think they played when we did my guitar player from Decrypt back in the day did the Midwest Fuck Fest. You can bleep that out if you want, Sreten. It'll be cool. It'll be funny. Yeah, it was at the Rave in Milwaukee, and they were playing, and I remember like, dude, it's like fucking, I don't know how many like death metal fucking fans there, and of course they're probably, a lot of them probably are Pantera fans, but when Hell Yeah is pulling up and there's fuck you, like pussy shit's on the side, man, get the fuck out of here, like. Oh,
that was a blend of like the whole Mudvayne Pantera thing, and it is what it is. It has its place, but yeah, I'm not a fan of that shit. No.
Yeah, me neither. Hey, to each their own. Whatever.
That's it. We're not here to talk shit. We're just here to talk some shit.
That's right. You want to talk some shit? Dial this number. Hey, going back to ECW though, I mean, did you watch a lot of ECW back in the day?
Oh, for sure. I remember watching. I grew up in a small town called Roseto, Pennsylvania. It's a little Italian town, and I remember hanging out. And it didn't come on until midnight where I was, and it was
ECW TV.
Yeah, and it was
out
on
here.
We had Service Electric Cable at that time.
Okay,
and it would come on like their local channel on that. So I mean, it was like midnight. It would come on. It was on till like 2 a.m.
Yeah,
and I remember seeing like Beulah McGillicuddy getting freaking powerbombed through a table. I'm like, what in the world is this? And just the stuff that they were doing in the ring and outside of it, it was fantastic. Blew my mind. I loved the characters. At times a bit cheesy and campy, but I mean that was the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean it's pro wrestling,
Yeah, it had the low budget feel. They were in Paul's basement cutting promos, and it was the Dark Side of the Ring, I think, the documentary they did where they kind of showcased that, and Paul's mom's ironing while he's in there cutting, trying to be Paulie dangerous and just being all
and his dad's trying to keep him from getting sued.
Yeah, I mean, hey, but I love it, man. The DIY thing, it's fantastic. It's the same way that our band operates, man. You gotta do it yourself if you want to, kind of keep it going. And they did
control your own destiny, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And to bring in the talent when other companies thought that they were just trash, bringing in an angry Steve Austin and getting him to cut promos and being the real deal. And, Mick Foley and Terry Funk and, Sabu and to have a guy like the Sandman be a freaking fan favorite, it was pretty awesome to see what they could do. And a guy like Tommy Dreamer, who may not have had the platform to do what he was really good at. And Shane
Douglas. He's still doing it to this day with Impact, dude, and he's killing it.
They brought in Chris Jericho. They brought in,
Eddie Guerrero.
And was Malenko in there too?
Malenko was there. Rob Van Dam.
Just
Rey Mysterio, dude. Psychosis. The Lucha Libre. They were like the first ones. WCW took that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so ahead of their time. I mean, Paulie knew what to do with what he learned from WCW and what he brought to ECW. You could tell what he wanted to do and what he didn't want to do. And, he became the number 3 of the big, of those companies, and, put it on the map, and it's great because it's Philadelphia, and that's Philly in a nutshell, man. I lived there for 3 years, and they are black and white, man. It's like cut and dry. It's what you see is what you get, and they will tell you if they like it, and they'll tell you if they hate it. And I've been to some Eagles games. I'm a huge Dolphins fan, so I've been to the lane.
You miss Jay Cutler?
Played there? Hell no.
You gonna pick up our trash, huh?
Hell no. So so I mean, to have that energy and to have the guy in the straw hat in the front row every freaking time you saw him, and
the fans,
the things that you remember from all that.
And here's the fucked up thing, dude. We're talking about them 20 years after their demise, and it's still this like beloved entity. I mean, here's a little thing for you, because I don't know if you've been watching AEW, but Taz is there, and he's managing a guy called Brian Cage. And he just brought back the fucking FTW title, dude, and gave it to Brian Cage.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. It was like, I was fucking popping hardcore. But then you got marks and shit on the internet and haters. Oh, good. Just talking shit. And it's like, come on.
I mean, that comes with the territory, man. Yeah. You're doing something right if people are talking shit because they're fucking talking about it. That's the bottom line, and that's the same thing in our business. And what we do, it's like, you just keep doing what you're doing, and I agree. Cause I remember right when we had kind of started talking about getting on this thing, where we were talking about AEW and, the whole Rock and Roll Express were in there, and, they were doing their thing, and Steiner made an appearance, right? And he came out and kind of started doing his thing. So yeah, I mean, for me, I should get into it a bit more, because I feel like with what you're saying on the positive side of it, is what we feel like is missing, and bringing these guys to, guys to manage and bring these new guys up. I think it's awesome.
Bro, I'm telling you, as far as AEW goes, if you're looking for mainstream wrestling that once you want it to bring you back, but yet give you that cool, like, modern edge, because I'm telling you, these motherfuckers nowadays, there's never been athletes like these guys. Like, they're doing insane shit. Like, what was it, Sreten? Last week at AEW Fighter Fest, Ray Phoenix of the Lucha Bros doing, I don't know if you know what a Canadian destroyer is, but dude, doing it, fucking jumping off a guy and then like doing it to the outside of a bunch of guys. It's fucking nuts. You'll have to look it up.
Well, it's like anything. I mean, like motocross and snowboarding and skateboarding and BMX and drumming, and it's like DMX. Everything goes to the extreme. So I mean, everybody wants to take it to the next level. And if you're not doing that, you're not gonna be noticed. You have to think outside the box, and you have to do things to get noticed. And nobody wants to do an arm bar and an arm drag and a freaking headlock. You want to, sky's the limit. Take it to the next level.
Like they're good setup moves and stuff. And they still have their place, and that's the good thing about AEW is, I mean, it's as you would say, I guess it's a spot monkey fucking promotion. I mean, they have the insane amount of talent that do these crazy ass moves, but they still recognize tradition. I mean, one of the lead guys there is the son of the American Dream. Is
that Cody?
Yeah,
Cody. Yeah,
Cody's fucking dude. It's so weird. I hated him in WWE. I couldn't stand him. I don't know what it was. He
terrible character build on him.
Terrible. And then the Stardust shit was like,
no.
What the fuck is going on?
There was only one Dustin Rhodes. There was only one Goldust. You're not gonna be able to bring these guys in and do the same thing. Same thing with it's not the same thing, but like bringing Ronda Rousey in and making her a hot Ronda. Like, come on, you're not gonna take Piper's gimmick. I mean, kudos to her for being a badass that she is, but come up
in the MMA world.
Right.
But she wasn't a badass in pro wrestling because she couldn't. And here's the thing, though. I'm sure it was fun to her. I don't want to disrespect her for that because she was a super fan. Like imagine any one of us getting that opportunity and living.
Freaking David Arquette.
David Arquette, dude, he's still going. He almost got killed in the fucking death.
I saw.
Match.
Did he do a movie about it or something? Was there something?
Sreten's favorite movie. Q Sreten.
Ready to Rumble?
Yes.
But no, recently in the last 2 months they came out with a movie kind of talking about his wrestling career. It wasn't his wife, but it's one of
Was it RJ City with him?
I think possibly. I know they at around that same time he did a lot of online promotion with RJ City.
Yeah, he got hit with like a fluorescent light or something like that, and it cut him up and almost killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like he didn't even finish the match. He's like, I'm fucking bleeding to death. I'm out of here.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing too. You can call wrestling scripted and blah blah blah, but man, when these guys take a freaking bump and it's some real shit. Like Stone Cold gets dropped on his dome, and
hell yeah, by Owen Hart.
It's a dangerous business, and they're out there to entertain. But man, you're putting your neck on the line literally day in and day out. And the rigorous touring those guys did, and I mean, holy hell.
As far as like entertainment goes, and this is just my personal opinion. I mean, you could talk about music. You can talk about actors, any other type of celebrity. I do not know, and I am not aware of any other performer and or entertainer that really sacrifices as much as these guys do. And do some of them, your John Cena's, your Hulk Hogan's, your Undertaker's, your Warriors, make ridiculous amounts of money? Yes. But there are some very fucking heavy sacrifices, mentally and physically, that come with that territory. I mean, most of these guys aren't seeing their fucking families because they're on the road, 360 days out of 365, like seriously. Like,
yeah. I mean, I've done tours where we were on the road for, 6 months a year, and I thought it was the best thing ever. And then I'm like, man, these guys are working 280 to 300 days a year.
And getting hurt.
Body through and that you wonder why
and then doing drugs and fucking getting depressed and drinking and then killing themselves or killing someone else. That's why there is, it's cause and effect. That's why there's a fucking dark side of the ring.
I just watched of course I scan YouTube and I'm always watching, it's always coming up on my feed, new wrestling stuff. And this guy did a video on how many wrestlers died that were on the card for WrestleMania 6. And
I was at 8.
I think there was only like 3 still living, characters that were on the card. And you're talking like referees that have passed. You're talking commentators. You're talking
I do that
thing.
shit,
I mean,
dude,
it's
when I'm
just
watching.
like, it's insane and it's sad, but I mean, what are you going to do? It's just, it's a bummer. It really sucks that they had to go through that kind of shit.
Hard ass life.
It
absolutely.
Is. And there's companies that are trying to change it up, like AEW. They're very kind of guess you can say generous with their schedule. You can have a guy like Matt Hardy, who's with them, who's been, around the business now for like fucking 30 years or whatever it is, work a limited schedule and yet still always seem like he's there because he's providing content from his house or, wherever it may be. And the same thing goes with Impact. You have a guy like Rob Van Dam, who's damn near almost 50, who's still in freakish athletic fucking shape, dude. Like the guy still does the, remember his workout where he do the Van Damme splits and then he's got the fucking weights while he's splitting, dude, and he's fucking lifting weights. He still does it. He still fucking does it.
I mean, when you're a badass like that and you stick to that regiment and you really kind of hone in on your craft like that, and you're the whole fucking show.
That's right, brother. That's fucking right.
You gotta hold up to that, and same thing with anything, like even music. It's like, I see certain guys that just kind of like hang out and you see other guys that get ready and then you're like, holy shit, fucking A, and I kind of have to get into that when I go on stage. What we do is super demanding on me physically. Yeah. And mentally.
You're a fucking drummer, man. Come on.
It's gotta be, the mental and physical have to go hand in hand.
Right.
So day in and day out, man. I mean, and I'm not vegan or anything like that. And, some guys really focus on their diet. Some guys really focus on, I have to stretch my whole body before I go out there. Cause if I don't, man, I'll so you have to really be honed in on what you're doing in order to perform at a high level. And consistency is the hardest thing. And that's one thing I'll always stress, that's the hardest thing about being a professional, athlete or
keyword
musician.
Professionalism.
Is just, people, whether there's 3 people there or 500 or whatever, we play like it's Wembley, It's like we're going out there and we're balls out every single time. So, I respect people that are into that, and if you can cater to the guys to be able to be in the business longer than what their shelf life is, especially with modern technology allowing that to be a bit more favorable, and also history and guys dying and people caring more about their, people instead of using them and throwing them in the trash, Yeah. So that's, not to get.
You're like a fucking prophet, man. Do you ever think about religion?
No. Metal.
I got that Seth Rollins look going. Fucking leopard messiah.
Yeah. Actually, we got to record with Fleming Rasmussen in Copenhagen a couple months ago. We actually did a single with him called "Kill the Pain." So we got to go to True Silent Studio in Copenhagen, and he's got all the Metallica records on the wall. And man, talk about losing your shit. When I was a kid, I didn't even know how to pronounce his name. Now I'm in the studio talking shit with him and recording a couple songs. So man, it's like one of those things. You just keep on trucking and you get put into a position where you're like, fuck yeah, this is exactly where I want to be. And and especially now, I mean, you can work with people because it's not 1986 and there aren't $1 million contracts, and record producers and people in the business don't have the high dollar gigs that they had back in the day. So it frees up the opportunity to go in and work with a lot of cool people. Like we recorded with Steve Albini in Chicago.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, we did a song.
Dude, I love fucking Big Black, right?
Yeah. So we got to go to his spot and recorded a song with him called "Are You Out There?" And we recorded on 2-inch tape with him. And he's just like what you see, dude. He puts his jumpsuit on. And he's like, "Hey, it's your song. You play the song. You do it. Go for it. I'm not telling you how to do anything. It's your band. It's your song."
In utero, man. In utero.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. So
I love the drum really sound from that.
Yeah, we got to have some really awesome experiences, and teaches us a lot on just it's fun. You got to have fun doing it.
And it seems like you maintain the the humbleness from it. You're always eating the slice of humble pie. Like it's good. Because fuck the guys there like, "Oh, fuck you, I do this, fuck you." Like,
yeah, I mean, dude, we've been struggling in the dirt, and we still are underground, man. Each day and each week and each year we take steps, and that's what keeps me hungry, man. I need the constant progression. If I'm not progressing in what I'm doing, stick a fork in me. I'm
and that's
over
in
it.
any medium. I mean, even in this shit, if we ain't doing something different and talking to different types of people and trying to progress the quality and the content of the show, it's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done.
Yeah. And for the amount of time you guys have been doing it, kudos. You come up with fresh content and, you get a guy like me that come in, just ramble about, whatever.
That's how we keep it fresh, because
yeah. So, I mean, yeah, you got to stay around. And I think now too, gives people a chance to really think about what they're doing with their lives at the same time. It's like what I'm doing with myself, really what I want to be doing. Like even with my girlfriend, she just quit her day job. She was just, coming home. She was just bumming. And I'm like, I'm loving what I'm doing. And it's like, you got one person firing, you got the other one who's misfiring. And it's like, grab a hold of your life and let's freaking do this together, and you do what you want, do what you want to freaking do. And, we've been growing a lot in the last couple of years as a band, and, we're making headway. And
you guys are doing a lot of shit. You're out there. I mean, excuse me. I got in contact through you because of Jarvis.
Yeah.
You
originally you talked to
Athner from Midnight.
Yeah, and he was like, "Man, I don't really know much about wrestling. He wants to talk horror and stuff like that, And he's a character in his own, and he likes to, he's just like, yay or no, And then Jarvis, he's a maniac when it comes to the business of this. I remember when we first played one of our first shows, he was like, "Well, that's this guy and that's this band." He's like, "Hey, believe me, brother, I'm gonna fucking know everybody in this scene." And sure as shit, man, he's one of the front runners waving that flag nowadays. And hats off to him and his work ethic, man. Like, he manages Satan, he manages he sang in Jaguar and managed them, and managed Sarath Ungol, brought them back from the dead, and manages Midnight, manages Visigoth, and manages and plays in our band. So he's a nut when it comes to that, and it takes a special breed to do that. That's not my calling at all. I'm full of useless knowledge,
Are we all? I mean, much respect to that cat for that, because, dude, like I said, I mean, he got me hooked up with Athner. I mean, we played Full Terror Assault a couple of years ago with them. I was fucking tripping acid on the side of the stage while they were playing. I'm like, in the video, someone came up and was like, "Hey, are you with the band?" I'm like, yeah, I'm with the band. I think they're all trying to fuck my old lady, though. But another day,
comes with the territory, man. Hey, it's why you can't have a hot chick in any kind of metal or hardcore scene, man.
Well, you can.
Like, she shows up and everybody's like, she's somebody's girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm the lucky one though, where she ain't gonna do anything,
Right, totally.
So we've all. I'm sure at some point we've all had those girlfriends where it's like, she's good, and then she looks, oh, look at his dick. Oh, like she's fucking something else. Wow, wow. Little Sam Kinison for you there.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
But awesome. Yeah, man, I never would have thought that, like, especially with the last record and what we're trying to do with the JP Dub, our other podcast, is mainly like more outside of pro wrestling. And somehow we always get roped back in. Like we had Mike DeSalvo from Mercurion and Cryptopsy, and he's like, I thought we were going to fucking talk about wrestling.
It's always show, Mike. I love that when I'm out on the road and you bro down with guys in other bands and you just start talking shit. And it's like, I have the warrior face paint on a skull on like my left arm, and it's like, is that an Ultimate Warrior tattoo? And then we were with a band called Against the Grain, and one of the guys in that band at the time, he had a big old warrior tattoo on his quad, and he's like starts unbuckling his pants. I'm like, whoa, man, hold on a second. And then he shows me his big old warrior tattoo. I was like, holy hell.
It's better than a big old dick.
Yeah. Take what you can get, and I took the latter, so that's good.
Right? Yeah, but that's the cool shit, man. And that's the thing. That's the vibe I like to put out with this show. I mean, it's we have information we try to give people. We try to give them pathways, if you will, to certain content and newer content or older content that they may enjoy. But I really enjoy those interactions where it's like you said, you're fucking broing down with some dudes, and next thing you know, it leads into some like, oh shit, look at my fucking Look at my dick. I mean, my Ultimate Warrior tattoo. You know,
right.
like, you know, that shit's totally cool. Like, and it was the same with me and you. You know, like when Jarvis told me about you, I was like, well, fuck yeah, dude. Like, metal
totally.
wrestling. Let's fucking do it. You know, I mean, I'm pretty sure in the 80s they had a fucking thing called the Rock and Wrestling Connection. You know, ain't nothing
I mean,
changed.
it goes hand in hand. Heavier. I mean, energy is energy, and especially with heavy metal, man, that's what it is. That's the name of the game. And you know, for me, it definitely pumped me up as a kid. And you know, I was an angry kid. I wanted to hit things, and then you like take it, like you spend too many days in a row with one of your friends. Next thing you know, you're like bouncing his head off his headboard, and like for real, you know. And then you're like choking him out, like you're not even around the temples. You just got him around the neck. You're like, I'm choking you out, motherfucker. This is it. I'm really like I'm wrenching the sharpshooter. I'm wrenching the sharpshooter for real.
Oh, dude, man,
you know?
Sharpshooter. I've been the sharpshooter for real. I've also been in like a Boston Crab and or the Walls of Jericho. Shit hurts.
Yeah, it's nothing to mess around with. And that's one thing too that I kind of like thought was cool is like the Jericho cruise. You know, he does like the pro wrestling and podcast and stand.
You guys should reach out to him, man. I really don't see a reason why there would be. I mean, dude, there's obviously.
I mean, it's funny because like, you know, he's got, you know, the Fozzy thing, and they were on Century Media. We're on Century Media, and you would think because you're label mates that, you know, they hear about you, but
be on Century Media, dude. Back in the
but it's not always the case, man. These guys, you know, sometimes they don't really know what's fresh and going on in the underground and that kind of thing. But even Jarvis said right before the podcast, he was like, dude, it's like the wrestling community and the wrestling world, you know, it's kind of like it goes hand in hand, you know. And then once they, you know, discover a new band like that, they're like, you know, down. Because I remember looking at like the Jericho Cruise lineup, and I was like, man, I was a little discouraged. I really wanted to go just to see the wrestlers that were there.
Oh yeah,
you know, and to maybe see some
like
of the
good fucking time, dude. And they do the podcast there where they had like the NWO and shit and Bischoff.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, you know. And like on a cruise too, you can't really hide unless you really want to stay in your cabin the whole time. You know, people get to interact and mingle and get to talk your ear off a little bit on those things, and it makes it for a cool experience. You're paying that kind of money for the experience, and that's
exactly,
you know.
I mean, dude, you guys, hey, man, you fucking tell Jarvis, you better fucking be listening to this right now, because if not, I'm gonna fucking find you.
Totally.
I can't say what I'm gonna do because it's inappropriate, and this is snowflake age. Hey, it's snowing. But you gotta get Night Demon on that shit. You gotta hook it up, dude. Jericho's a huge metal guy. He's a huge horror guy. I just see that happening. I see that as like a match. What they do? Which Mania was that with Macho Man and Elizabeth? The match made in heaven. And then there was
that was SummerSlam '91.
Was that SummerSlam? Yeah, dude. Remember that's when fucking Jake busted the Cobra out
for the first time.
That was so dope.
With the Undertaker. Undertaker was there then too, and you're just like, what in the world? And then that went into the promo of Jake trying to teach the Warrior how to be like this dark, you know, entity, but really he just let him into the whole fucking room with the snakes, and brilliant.
And then he turned on Taker too. Like that's how deep Jake the Snake was, more fucking sadistic and devious than everybody's favorite demon, the Undertaker. You know,
totally.
Like it was great because that's what led into WrestleMania 8, where I was at in Indianapolis at the Hoosier Dome. Dude, Jake the Snake versus the fucking Undertaker. I'll never forget it. Right before Jake went to WCW to fuck with Sting and do the Coal Miners Club.
Halloween Havoc. Yeah, it was in '92.
Yeah. Was that the spin the wheel, make the deal shit?
That was the Coal Miner glove match. I remember Sting went up to grab. Was it based off of that though?
Yeah. I think so.
And Cactus Jack interfered in the match, and it bit Jake. It did, dude, and it got latched onto him. I remember he's like a fucking cobra, and he's like all dramatic, and then all Cactus Jack is saying is bang 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 as the cobra's biting the shit out of him. I was like, this is great.
That's justice for Randy, because he's like, I don't know, but you take the snake first.
Dude, how great of a story is that? I saw that, and I was like, that's fucking brilliant, because it's so true. Then Jake's like, I paintbrushed the shit out of that cobra.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. Dude, it was cool. We got to meet him. He was up here downtown Hobart, Indiana. At the Art Theater. I got to meet Jake 2 years ago. Actually, right when we were trying to launched this podcast. I mean, it was super.
He was actually in our town too with DDP and Roddy Piper. They actually did a movie here in Ventura by one of my buddies who actually helped me get out to California. He's a huge wrestling fan, and he has this movie called The Bet. It's like a low budget film, but he had Tommy Dreamer in it, DDP, Jake the Snake, Roddy Piper. Nice. He actually invited me over. I was working a really shitty job at the time. And he invites me over on my lunch break, and it was when Piper was there, and Piper was shooting, and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Come here." He's like sneaking me in his house, and I'm like, because they were shooting at his house.
Yeah.
And he takes me upstairs, and he's got Piper's Hall of Fame ring in his hand because Piper had like changed to get ready for the shoot and took his Hall of Fame ring off. So he's like, "Put your palm out." So I put my palm out, and he sticks his ring in my hand, and I was just like, "Oh my!" Like literally, my hand sank. Like I was just like, "This is sacred, bro." And he's like, "How sick is this?" And I was like, "This is amazing." And he got all those guys in his movie. It was pretty awesome. But they had at that time, Jake was a little touch and go. They actually had to put him up in Oakview, which is north of Ventura or east of Ventura, just before Ojai. And they had to get him away so that he wouldn't get into any dope. And so it was a little touch and go at that time, but it was right on his kind of road to recovery and all that.
Dude, that's fucking awesome. And Roddy Piper, I was just I went back and I was watching some old TNT Monster Vision shit with Joe Bob Briggs when I think they were showing, man, because Piper did a lot. I mean, he's very famous for They Live, but I mean, he did, what's the other one? It's like Lords of Frogtown or some weird, something with frog in the title. I can't remember the title, so crucify me, you marks. But dude, he had a lot of like B movie shit, and they were showing one of his B movies on Monster Vision, and it was cool just to see Joe Bob like talking with Piper. And dude, that would have been so cool, because to me, like, Roddy was one of like the best, most honest dudes in the business. Like it was like always a shoot with Piper. Like, hey, motherfuckers wanted to call out and say, what they thought wrestling was, which we're going to have to bleep out your F word that you used earlier, Dusty, you piece of shit. What they thought wrestling was, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's what you think it is." And kind of give it back to him, like, because that's just how professional and protecting the business.
Actually, they did a wife swap with him and Flair. So
yeah.
Piper was all like laid back and like a family man up in the hills and a hard worker, and Flair's just all wooing the money and loving the fame.
As he should be.
All that.
Have you seen these?
I thought it was great.
Shoes.
And then he did a Celebrity Ghost Stories where he was in touch with Bruno Sammartino. And
Piper?
so you could look it up. And so he was like, he showed up, and they brought in this medium, and Owen Hart ends up coming through. And
really,
yeah, it's pretty interesting. And it whether you believe in that kind of thing or not, Piper was all about kind of showcasing it on there, which I thought was pretty cool.
Fuck yeah, Piper was cool, man. Dude, he was like one of the all-time. There's like. Everybody talks about fucking Mount Rushmores, right, in professional wrestling, which I've been asked that question a million times going on other shows and vice versa, and I kind of fucking hate it because it's very subjective. It's very it sucks. It's a shitty question because it's opinion based, but there are guys, for everybody out there watching and listening, that are not subjective. It's not an opinion, where it is fucking fact that Roddy Piper is up there. You have your Hulk Hogan's, your Ric Flairs, your Macho Mans, your Ultimate Warriors, guys that, whether you like them or not, for whatever fucking reason, I mean, they're up there. They're there. They were influential.
It's the total package of like, you got to have the in-ring capability,
the charisma.
The charisma, the energy, the promos. I mean, it's a whole well-rounded thing. I mean, look at what they did with like Rocky Maivia when he started. They tried to just, put him in as like a third generation wrestler and tried to just groom him that way. And the fans hated it. And then
Rocky, die.
And then when he finally got a chance to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I mean, A Star is Born, and he just took it and ran with it. Same thing with Jericho. That's what I think was so cool about the Monday night thing that I'm watching is how they showcase all these guys and how important they were to those companies and how they were, growing the business because of the fact they made one move by making Hulk Hogan a bad guy. That changed the game.
Changed
right
it
then
for
and there.
everybody. For everybody.
And I can't believe it took him that long to become a bad guy. But I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But at a certain point, you gotta change with the times and kind of, look at what the audience is saying. They won't lie to you.
Dude, I was a huge Hollywood mark. Dude.
Not to go off topic, but one of my most favorite promos of all time was the Ric Flair and hold on, I'm trying to think of his name right now. He came out as like he would make the Razor Ramon things. The black dude who would just he would come up. What was his name? It was in TNA, I believe, when it happened.
Oh, Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal.
When he's doing the Ric Flair to Ric Flair thing.
You're not me. 16 times. 16.
That's my line. That's my line. And he's throwing his shoe. And I mean, that is one of the most entertaining pieces I think I've ever seen, like in the history of wrestling. The fact and Flair almost loses it. He's trying to keep it together, and it looks like the Four Horsemen showed up and took a dump in the ring. It's brilliant.
Dude, that was a great moment. There were a lot of people. There probably still are some. That shit on TNA, like, oh, they never did this or never did that. But dude, they had some really great moments, and that was one of them, man. Like that. Jay Lethal sounded just like fucking Ric Flair. He looked like a fucking black Ric Flair. He's like,
and then when he starts taking off his glasses and throws his suit jacket down, dropping the elbows, and he's pissing Flair off, and Flair can't even he's just trying to out Flair himself, and he's just like, stop, profile, will do a kiss you, and he's just like going and going, and he's like, even the fat one.
He's talking about I made love to all these ladies, even that fat one.
Yeah, oldest bride, longest line.
Yeah,
love it. So I mean, there's things that just stick out in your mind, stuff that you'll never forget, and I think that's the beauty of professional wrestling. And things that you'll never forget, things that you were happy to be a part of when they were happening. And that's the whole point, man. Is like just ingraining that, embedding that in your mind. Same thing of like any kind of music you like, things that stick in, or something that sticks with you, man. That's the whole point.
Oh, for sure, man. And there's so many moments, and that's the great thing about wrestling is it really is so many mediums and forms of entertainment that have come together into one thing that like it just can't be touched. Like to me, like all the shows that me and Sreten go to, and just some of the shit we've been able to witness. Man, dude, it's cool because if I'm not at a concert performing or doing any of that shit or going to a concert, like it's almost the same, if not better. Sometimes, dude, we've been in a lot of environments, especially up here with Warrior Wrestling, Freelance Wrestling, Black Label, where, dude, it's like a fucking party. It's a rock show, dude, and you're going and you're fucking watching these guys and gals fucking pour their hearts out and perform, and it's good. It's not just some Joe Blow from fucking down the street, missing a couple teeth, got a beer gut.
I love wrestling.
Yeah, I love wrestling. Welcome to the NWA Mid-South or so.
Yeah. So, I mean, shit, dude. That's what it's all about. I love it.
Fuck yeah, brother. Well, before we end here real quick, Dusty, let everybody know where they can find you and Night Demon at online, man.
Nightdemon.net. That's where you can go and get everything all packed in action. Jarvis updates that daily, so he's always on top of that kind of thing. Instagram is Night Demon Heavy Metal, and I mean YouTube. You just search it, Google search Night Demon, and you'll find some stuff.
That's right. Buy some fucking merch. Buy some
Right.
fucking records, buy some fucking music, buy some fucking t-shirts. You guys probably got all kinds of crazy merch, don't you?
That's one thing that's cool about us is from day one, we really focused on coming up with cool designs. Like we just released 4 singles, and each 7-inch has its own album artwork. And with that comes a t-shirt. And, it's like, we always, just like we were talking about, you got to stay fresh, you got to stay relevant, you got to keep people, on the hook. If not, then you're just a flash in the pan and, people forget about you. So we really pride ourselves on really paying attention to the artwork and we're really like horror themed with a lot of our artwork and stuff like that. So, anybody who wants to dive down that rabbit hole will definitely see the connection with all that. Pro wrestling, not so much when it comes to our, merch out there, but maybe one of these days I'll get to design one, throw a little wrestling ring in there.
There you go.
Set my drum kit up in one. So in between songs, I can get up on the turnbuckle and, raise my hands or something.
Maybe, Lord knows, maybe even throw out a fucking theme song or for some company or wrestler, because man, dude, Wrestling Rock, and that's a future episode. Wrestling Rock is the drizzling shits. It's like a horrible genre,
I mean, you get like your Shine Downs and stuff like that. Those bands will get the they'll get the push, for that kind of stuff. And
Code Orange kids, or Code Orange, is it now? Did I just fuck up?
Yeah, I don't know, man, but yeah, I mean, it would be awesome. I'd be stoked. I remember when like Finn Balor or whatever his name is came out. He was the Demon King, and I remember like even like just like shooting an Instagram post to him and being like, "Hey man, I'm in this band called Night Demon. It'd be cool if like you're the Demon guy and we're the Demon band," and but never got a response. So.
Hey man, but at least you tried. That's networking. That's all I do. That's that's how a huge reason why you're on the show today. So.
Awesome, man. I'm super stoked to be a part of it. And I had a blast, and I'm glad I got to talk shop with you guys and meet you. And maybe one of these days we'll get to meet in person if we're out touring around. And we got some stuff coming up for next year. So you'll definitely find out about it. And we should be close enough. We should be close enough. Maybe you can make a trip out.
Oh yeah. Well, we got friends all across the country. So
I'm pretty sure I know somebody who can get you on the list,
I just made the list. Fuck yeah, brother. Well, Dusty, it was a great time talking to you, man. Everybody make sure you check out fucking Night Demon. Hit Dusty up as well as on Instagram at Dusty_Squires. And, until next time, we got to wet 'em up, wet 'em up, wet 'em up. Oh yeah, I'm so fucking wet for Night Demon. And Dusty Squires is fucking insane. It's fucking killer. Join me.
You gonna do sex to me?